So after a dramatic development at the United Nations Security Council on Friday night, Iran has officially snapped all ties with the International Atomic Energy Agency or the IAEA, and rightly so. This was after Iran failed to garner the much needed support at the UN Security Council against the triggering of the SnapBack mechanism by E3 countries, namely the UK, France, and Germany. Russia, China, Pakistan, and Algeria voted in favor of Iran, while the US, the UK, France, Denmark, Slovenia, Somalia, Sierra Leone, Greece, and Panama voted against the Islamic Republic. Guyana and South Korea abstained. This was indeed a big blow to Iran as it failed to secure 9 votes that it needed in support of its draft resolution.
I shall put the draft resolution to the vote now. Will those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2025/561 please raise their hand? Those against? Abstentions? The result of the voting is as follows: 4 votes in favor, 9 votes against, 2 abstentions.
However, the development highlighted the dubious nature of these African countries who have long suffered themselves from Western imperialism in one way or the other. Listen to the justification given by Somalia and Sierra Leone in support of more biting sanctions against Iran. The Security Council votes mattered, but they chose to sit in the lap of their Western masters. And they are now urging parties to return to diplomacy as if anyone cares about what they say. They know it too well that no one cares about what they utter. Their votes mattered, not words, and they decided to not use those votes judiciously.
Somalia voted this draft resolution according to the paragraph 11 of the Security Council resolution of 2231 of 2015. This decision reflects the nuanced and multifaceted nature of the current situation, particularly regarding the JCPOA commitment by parties. At the same time, we firmly believe that the importance of fostering diplomatic engagement and dialogue to address Iran's nuclear program. Any decision regarding Iran's nuclear program must be considered carefully, taking into account the broader implication of the regional stability and international security.
Sierra Leone notes the geopolitical context within which the Council has been called upon to discharge its charter responsibilities of maintaining international peace and security and addressing threats thereto. We are mindful of the provisions of the Charter and international law that provide for lawful redress for internationally wrongful acts of states, including in this current broader context. On Resolution 2231, our position is principled and consistent. We uphold the integrity of the global non-proliferation regime. We favor the peaceful settlement of disputes through political and diplomatic dialogue. We call on all parties to act with restraint, uphold Resolution 2231, and support a credible path back to compliance.
Credit to China, Russia, Pakistan, and Algeria for standing up to Western bullies. Listen to the representatives from China and Pakistan in particular and how they expose the US and its dishonesty on the Iranian nuclear program.
President, China supports the Security Council sanctions against Iran remaining terminated and has voted yes on the draft resolution. At the same time, I must emphasize we firmly reject relevant countries' push by force for the invocation of the SnapBack mechanism and hold such a move as gravely undermining diplomatic efforts for a political resolution of the Iran nuclear issue. President, The current difficult situation concerning the Iran nuclear issue stems from the United States' unilateral withdrawal from and undermining the proper implementation of the JCPOA, reinstalling and continuously escalating its sanctions against Iran, imposing maximum pressure, which deprived Iran of its access to the economic dividends provided for under the deal, and left Iran with no choice but to scale back its compliance with the agreement. The U.S., at the expense of its own credibility, went even further by recklessly launching military strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, thereby torpedoing the very negotiation process that the U.S. itself initiated. It is under these circumstances that the UK, France, and Germany are citing Resolution 2231 and insisting on activating the SnapBack mechanism to unilaterally sanction Iran. This is unfair and unreasonable. Such a move causes tension and division among Council members, is not conducive to rebuilding mutual trust and bridging differences among the parties, detrimental to the diplomatic effort towards early resumption of talks, and may even bring about catastrophic consequences that are impossible to foresee and forfeit years of diplomatic efforts in one stroke.
Pakistan voted in favor of the draft resolution. Our position on this matter has been guided by the following. First, the firm belief that all issues concerning Iran's nuclear program must be resolved by peaceful means through dialogue and cooperation. Second, the need to provide more time for diplomacy to succeed. Third, the imperative of avoiding a confrontation that could further complicate the situation. And fourth, preserve the framework of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action and Resolution 2231 for reaching an amicable solution without a resort to coercive measures till such time that a successor arrangement or a new deal is reached. The JCPOA was a sterling example of a pragmatic and cooperative approach which charted a negotiated roadmap to comprehensively address the concerns of all parties by clearly defining their relevant obligations and responsibilities. Regrettably, the agreement was disrupted, leaving many complications in its wake that impacted the full and faithful implementation of the JCPOA by various parties and leading to mutual recriminations. Invoking the snapback and reimposition of UN sanctions could further complicate the situation, harden positions, and take us away from the objective of an amicable resolution of the issue. The current situation demanded more engagement and not a hasty reimposition of sanctions. That is why Pakistan favored a technical extension of Resolution 2231 for a period of 6 months to create space for political engagement and negotiations through a realistic and constructive approach by all the parties.
The UK, France and Germany decided to go ahead to trigger the snapback mechanism despite Iran changing its earlier stand on suspending cooperation with the IAEA. Both Iran and IAEA, as you may remember, signed a fresh agreement in Egypt on 9th of September to resume cooperation. So the triggering of the snapback mechanism is perplexing to many, even though a lot of experts thought Iran was on the path of another suicidal mission by resuming the IAEA inspection of its nuclear facilities. After what the IAEA did to its nuclear scientists by allegedly sharing intelligence with Israel, which then led to the assassination of Iranian nuclear scientists, you would have expected Iran to remain steadfast in its resolve to not cooperate with the agency. Let's also not forget that Iran's repeated demand for condemnation, just a condemnation from the IAEA of the Israeli and American attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities, were rejected by Rafael Grossi. More recently, the IAEA chief of Argentinian origin justified his decision to not condemn the Israeli and American action.
I'm giving you the opportunity right now to condemn the targeted murder of nuclear engineers and nuclear scientists. Is that something that you condemn?
I'm a diplomat. I'm a man of words, I'm a man of negotiations, I'm a man that believes in international law, in talking to resolve questions. So I would never condone, rejoice, or endorse any physical act of violence. I believe that this is not something that, as Director General of the IAEA, falls within my purview.
But Iran has always highlighted Grossi's double standard since he had condemned the Russian attack on Ukrainian nuclear facilities. That's why many feel that Iran needs to go nuclear, particularly after what Israel has done to countries around the Middle East by bombing them at will. Iran ought to have accelerated its nuclear program to create a deterrence. Even Saudi Arabia, a US ally, has realized that American security guarantee was useless and therefore signed a mutual defense deal with nuclear-armed Pakistan recently. But Iran, it seems, hasn't learned anything from its repeated humiliation and deception by the West. The Islamic Republic has had plenty of time to acquire a nuclear arsenal. The SnapBack mechanism will lead to the reimposition of sanctions from 28th of September this month. This also would mean that the West would have no access to the Iranian nuclear program. According to some experts, Tehran should use this opportunity to finally achieve its nuclear ambition. The Israeli aggression against Iran in June and now against Qatar has highlighted one thing, and that is the need for the countries in the Middle East to unite. The idea of an Islamic NATO-like entity is the need of the hour if these countries need to secure their sovereignty against Israeli and Western threats. It remains to be seen, though, if they would be any wiser this time around. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.